Gosha, are you letting people in?
Yes.
Okay. So I will wait 21 more seconds and then I'll start. All right, welcome everybody who has joined so far. We'll begin in just 1 minute here. All right, what do you think? Should we get going? Yes, good. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to the first Be.Cultour webinar. We are so happy to have you here with us today and hope to see you again later on in the year because we'll have quite a few more of these. My name is Sophia Silverton and I am the moderator for today of this webinar. Here we go. I work at ICLEI Europe as the Just Transition and Culture Officer there. And I am very happy to be hosting this session on the role of heritage innovation networks for co-creation and communities empowerment. We have 6 guests who will talk about their experiences and tools for stakeholder engagement with the aim of spurring local development, communities empowerment, and innovative entrepreneurship through circular cultural tourism. Now, I think Antonia will go into the description of the Be.Cultour project, so I might skip past this just for now. But I wanted to highlight that, as I said, we have 9 webinars scheduled throughout the year. So if you like what you hear today, then you can check out these other webinars. And perhaps one of my colleagues can post the registration link already for the upcoming one in March. So here we have our agenda. As you'll see, we have 6 lovely speakers with us today. Each one will share with us for approximately 10 minutes. And then we'll have a space for question and answers at the end. So you can hold your questions till then, or you can write them in the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll pick them back up later on. All right, we will have also a short break in the middle for stretching, coffee, and so on. So let's see who is in the room with us today. First of all, we have with us Antonia Gravagnolo. Antonia, if you want to wave. Good. She is the senior researcher at the Italian National Research Council Institute of Heritage Science, the coordinator of the Be.Cultour project, and as well as the Cosme Trace project, which fosters a circular tourism ecosystem in Europe. She also was the co-coordinator of the Horizon 2020 CLICK project, which I love saying that word, CLICK, and that was on circular models leveraging investments in cultural heritage adaptive reuse. And she holds a PhD specialized in the evaluation methods for the regeneration of cultural heritage and landscapes. Next, we have with us Luigi Fusco-Girard. Luigi, you can wave if you would like. There he is. He is the Emeritus Professor at the University of Naples Federico II and President of the ICOMOS International Scientific Committee on Economics of Conservation. He also was involved in the coordination of the CLICK project I just mentioned, and he's authored more than 200 scientific publications on evaluation methods for integrated conservation and regeneration of cultural heritage and landscapes. Next up, we have Małgorzata Świekła, my colleague here at ICLEI Europe. She is a Sustainability Culture Officer with 15 years experience in teaching and research in culture management and cultural cooperation. And her work has been recognized by the French government and the Polish Ministry of Culture, among others. And she has worked at several cultural institutions, mainly as a producer and curator in Poland, Germany, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. She also holds a PhD in management studies and a master's degree in Polish philology. And perhaps that can be a question for later, what philology is. Then we have with us Francesca Pozzebon, Project and Policy Officer at the European Regions Research and Innovation Network, also known as ERIN. Hi, Francesca. Francesca has a background in the field of culture, creative industries, and international cooperation and development. At ERIN, she supports the management of EU-funded projects for research and innovation in the field of culture, tourism, and energy transitions. And she holds a master's in international relations and development policies. And next, we are joined by two members of the Be.Cultour family. So we have, first of all, Chiara De Alio, who is joining us from one of the Be.Cultour mirrors. And Chiara has a degree in politics from the University of Perugia and has worked in the tourism and events sector before being employed full-time in Umbria. Please correct my pronunciation when you jump in later. And she joined in 1990 to focus on EU cooperation and networks, where she mainly deals with sustainable tourism and heritage. And last but not least, we have with us a member of the Be.Cultour pilot site, Västergötland, Ulrika Lind. And she has a bachelor's degree in the conservation of built environment and a European cultural management diploma. Since 2002, Ulrika has been employed at the Västergötland region at the Department of Cultural Development, And she heads a resource center for craft and building restoration and is the vice chairman for National Civil Association for Building Preservation. Good. So that was a mouthful. We have a great lineup, as you can see. And I will now hand things over to Antonia to start presenting, and I will share your slides, Antonia. So give me 1 second.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to meet all of you today and to launch this series of webinars within the Be.Culture project. It will be a long path together all the year long, and we hope to provide you all to our audience the relevant information regarding the experimentation of the project, the innovation ideas, and the experiences that we are collecting during this journey. So let me just introduce now the Be.Culture project for those who don't know about it. The Be.Culture project is a Horizon 2020 funded research and innovation action funded by the European Commission. And the title stands for Beyond Cultural Tourism. So the point is here how to use, reuse, regenerate cultural heritage resources as a driver of local development and of circular development in cities and regions. And how to do this is the topic of today's webinar on how to involve and engage local communities through heritage innovation networks as the real power of the territories, people. So we are developing a human-centered perspective in this project to go beyond tourism and to really focus on cultural resources, natural resources, human resources, and how to exploit them in a regenerative way. So next, please. So if we look at the global scenario, we see that we are in the middle of an environmental crisis that will is bringing also social, cultural crisis, and also we are now getting out of a health crisis, as we all know. So the solutions to get out of this crisis are going into different patterns. First of all, to recover a synergy with nature through different instruments, clean energy development, clean technologies, renaturalization of cities, of regions. This brings on a renewed community spirit, a responsibility of all people, of all stakeholders in different communities, also respecting human rights, not only for us, but also for the future generation, which have the same rights as us. And this renewal of this community spirit will bring also, hopefully, to new entrepreneurial activities, a new entrepreneurial spirit of communities themselves. And we are collecting a lot of experiences, a lot of good practices in this sense that we would like to show you during this series of webinars, not only today, but also in the next ones. So which role could have cultural heritage and also cultural tourism for developing inclusive, safe, sustainable, resilient, and circular regional development? Next, please. So if we look at tourism, tourism is one of the most polluting and climate impacting sectors of the economy. This is bringing also in certain cases over-tourism issues, gentrification, seasonality, and also overconsumption of natural resources, cultural resources. So we see that tourism in itself is not a solution. Only if managed in a certain way, in a more sustainable way, and including in our project, we are trying to include the circular economy perspective as a regenerative economic perspective and dynamic perspective towards the future, then it could be a tool for regional development. Next, please. So the goal of the project, to summarize, is to co-create together with the local communities and test sustainable human-centered innovations for circular cultural tourism, to make tourism as a driver of development and to make cultural tourism as an occasion to renew the community spirit and to renew the care of communities towards cultural and natural heritage. Next. We are targeting deprived, remote, peripheral, deindustrialized areas, so many different areas, and some of them we will show also today, to rebalance also tourism between the remote areas and the overexploited areas, and to put together the stakeholders, the people, into collaborative heritage networks. In a way that they're able to better cooperate, to build synergies, and to work on their complementarities for enhanced strategies for local development. Let's go on. So the transversal innovation approaches of the project are based on 4 pillars. First is circular economy in tourism. This integration of the circular economy not only as a new type of economy that could bring the environmental regeneration, but really as a way of thinking, as a mindset that that is at the basis of the climate transition, of how we can get out, hopefully, of the climate crisis. Then the second pillar is cultural heritage and cultural Europeanization, in the sense that our European heritage can become also a way to recall and remind the European values. And this can convey the European values towards communities and towards all the visitors of the heritage sites. And then the human-centered, the fair and responsible tourism perspective, which brings together different aspects. Finally, smart destination management, which is the important aspect for enhancing the efficacy and efficiency of different strategies for the territory. So let's go on. The framework of the project is founded on these pillars, and you see that many different criteria are on board. And we have developed a reasoning, a knowledge on this, on how the circular cultural tourism can be implemented in different locations, involving different criteria and setting the objectives of this different type of tourism. Let's go on. So in a circular perspective, starting from the goals, the concepts that the communities together worked on to define, to identify. We built action plans for structured cooperation in different pilot areas, and we're building assessment tools, smart data management systems, and a co-evaluation framework also to co-evaluate and to make this framework dynamic, to make also the actions dynamic in a continuous co-evaluation and feedback process that brings also to in over time to change also the goals, the concepts at the base, based on the experience and based on what is going on and the people and the organizations involved. So let's go on. The innovation areas, I will not stay long on this. You will have a clear overview of all these innovation areas during the next webinars and webinar of today. So just to mention that these are some of the trends that we are also observing. If we go on, we also see the emerging trends in cultural tourism in general, and we see that tourism is more and more a tool to transform the places and to transform ourselves also through the visit and through the connection with different heritage and different communities. Then it is rising also a wave of remote working destinations who are hosting people not only for 1 or 2 days, but for long time, where creative people and people working in different sectors can visit a place and bring their expertise, their knowledge also. So being active part of the community as a temporary residents, not only as visitors for 1 or 2 days. And then we have a proximity travel that we all experienced during the 2 years of pandemic, but this could be also another trend, so that we are observing in different studies, and post-tourism, so something that is not anymore tourism at all, but really something more, something that brings people also in the non-tourism places to see the daily life and to get into connection with the communities in different ways. Let's go on. So this is our community, 6 pilot areas, the 16 mirror areas. So let's go on. And the 16 mirror innovation areas that are also invited today. One of the representatives of those areas is with us today. And let's go on. Just to mention the added value of the project of the tools that we are developing, co-creation tools, and we are talking about this today, action plans, but also financing instruments, and we will talk about this in our next webinar, data management tool, a learning platform for knowledge exchange. So I stop here. I think I have spent my time, and I thank you very much, and I leave the floor to Sofia and Professor Luigi Fusco-Girardi.
Thank you very much, Antonia. That was a good overview of the project for everyone new here. So Luigi, I will share your slides now. You can go ahead once you are ready.
Okay, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The first slide is, where is my first slide? Okay. Yes. Antonia invited all of us to go beyond the tourism, traditional tourism interpretation. This means the need to regenerate all forms of capital, the natural capital, the man-made capital, but also the human and the social capital. Stressing, she stressed this idea, the need of synergies This is, in my opinion, a very important key condition for the success of the circular tourism. I interpret, yes, the next one, please. The next one. Yes, these are the logo of Click and Be.Cultour. We interpret this research as a sectorial implementation of the Click project on the specific direction of touristic sector. How is possible to imagine innovative solutions in the circular model perspective? I think that it is the solutions are characterized by, in any case, a strong integration between the nature regeneration and the cultural assets regeneration. Click project was about specific cultural assets. This Be.Cultour project is about the integration between the nature regeneration with the cultural asset regeneration. And I think that it is very interesting, the proposal that I heard today, about the San Francisco route. Why? Because immediately in my mind, St. Francis is the saint of ecology. And ecology, and this is important, is the ground of the economy. This means that in this project, the center is not the economy, it's the ecology. This is important. Why? Important for the indicators, the kind of indicator that should be identified. Tourism is sustained by ecology, by the economy of the nature. I have with me an interesting statement of Patrick Geddes. Why? Because he proposed the transformation of the conventional orthodox economy into the bioeconomy. He lived in the end of the last century. So it is very interesting, this kind of lecture that he made to the Royal Society of Edinburgh. This is a green world. Our world is a green world. We all depend on plants. We all depend on leaves. By plants, we live. This is some people think that energy is generated by the circularization of coins. No. The energy is generated by plants, and in particular by the soil composed by leaves, not by mineral mass, which is the reason why I stress this statement, because in my opinion, in this proposal, soil, in the circular economy, soil is a treasure, a living treasure under our feet. Ecco. In my opinion, the circular economy should be recognized as the economy in which the soil is a complex, living, dynamic organism and integrated with the cultural assets. This means that this soil is the guarantee for us of biodiversity, and this means it's the guarantee of our well-being, of our quality of life, of our health. So many indicators should be oriented in this direction. As Antonia has stressed, cultural roots represents a value deposit of particular importance because they have the potential to redistribute the potential development between rural and city areas, between inland and coastal area, and so on. The problem is, the next one, please. The problem is, the next one, please. Yes, which conditions should be respected for the success of these new ecosystems, innovative ecosystem, tourist ecosystems? I think that the conclusion of CLIC could be used in this perspective. Which are the conclusion of the framework, of the criteria of the CLIC research approach? The first condition is the autopoietic capacity of the solutions, the capacity to self-regenerate resources as the soil. The second condition is the generative capacity, as the soil has the capacity to produce food, water, and so on and so on. And the third condition is about the symbiotic capacity to integrate the ecosystem, tourist ecosystem, in the dynamic context. So we applied in the CLIC project research these three conditions, and we have discovered that these are the essential elements to be integrated with other ones, naturally. The next one, please.
Yes, just a reminder that you could wrap up in 2 minutes. That would be fantastic.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I can, no problem. I can finish immediately. No
Perfect.
The next one, because this is, okay, this is an example of the capacity to regenerate not natural values, but social values, the community, as the Faro condition invite us. Okay, the next one, please. The next one. Yes, this is linked. The next one. The next one. Ecco, yes, beauty. Why importance of beauty? Beauty is the reflection of the biodiversity, systemic organization. Beauty is the outcome of the synergies of all the systemic interdependencies. Beauty is exactly the outcome of the good systemic symbiotic organization that we can find in nature. Our challenge is to use this value to transform it in another direction, into a civic beauty, trying to generating the civic, the capacity for each one, for each tourist to become also a good citizen. I thank you here. I thank you very much, and I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luigi. And now for our next speaker, Małgorzata, I will hand over the floor to you and share your slides.
Thanks a lot. So as Professor Luigi Fusco-Girard just said at the beginning of his speech, Antonia invited us to go beyond traditional tourism, and I would like to explain the methodology, what happened during this invitation with our pilots in our community of practice. Sophia, yes, exactly. So the short contribution will be about the co-creation of action plans for circular and sustainable cultural tourism in less known heritage areas, which means, in short, what it means exactly to go beyond tourism and how to do it. Next, please. Thanks. So the 6 action plans that were co-designed in the pilot heritage sites had several objectives, and mainly they were intended to act as diagnosis for the local potential, to identify the assets which may not be recognized so far, and to make use of the assets in a sustainable and circular way. It was also kind of mission for the Heritage Innovation Network to find the path toward future changes in a circular and sustainable way, and also in a beautiful way, as the professor said before. So the issue of beauty was also leading us on this journey, and help us to create visions, because this was also rooted in creativity and the need to live in a beautiful environment, also in remote areas which are sometimes forgotten but have a lot to offer. Next, please. What also needs to be highlighted from the methodological point of view, we are operating during the pandemic. So what was created for this project in terms of the organizational settings for workshops and the process of co-creation, and also what influenced the actions and the visions of the future was actually conducted during the lockdowns and strict limitations in various countries, and also in the different countries taking part in this project, the limitation and restrictions was different. So we were using for the workshops and co-creation both in person and also online formats. And the frameworks was as follow. Next, please. We have designed the process of creating action plans based on monthly meetings, which were called community meetups. And during the meetups, the representative of the pilot areas had the chance to share stories and to get inspired for each other, also to rediscover the local assets. Sometimes when you see your territory, you are overlooking something that could be interesting for the others. So we benefited from the perspective from newcomers, let's say, and I won't say customers, rather for the travelers to our territories. We wanted to find the tools and the ways to empower the communities to not only to co-create, but also to co-initiate. So the project is not only giving the opportunity to do something with us, this should be also an opportunity to go beyond and do also something without us once the project is finalized. We wanted to find synergies with the existing local initiatives, also to find more opportunities for our actions, and of course to map stakeholders, which was an ongoing process. So we started at the beginning with mapping the stakeholders in various areas, but it was repeated and had an iterative character. Next one, Sophia, please. Once we established the monthly meetups, we also had free workshops with particular objectives to first explore the problems in given territory, to define the solutions with the communities, and to finally find the solutions in form of the action plans. The workshops were conducted in person, online in each pilot heritage sites within approximately period of 6 months, and communities were invited to join 3 times, and it was intended as a process, developing process, to join 3 times and to really co-create. And it was facilitated by ICLEI and the other consortium members with the given toolbox and methods I will describe right after this slide. This one is just to show you the beauty of co-creation and the beauty of doing exercises together and to rediscovering your territory with new ideas and new visions. Next one, Sophia, please. And yes, I said before about the toolbox. We developed 3 toolboxes with methods and tools to foster the co-creation, and at 3 particular stages reflected by the 3 workshops. We have different tools and method to ideate, to brainstorm, to find the solutions together, and also to be critical, which was, for example, done with the Walt Disney method, which allows you to play with narrative and stories and characters, personas, to judge whether your ideas are going in the right direction, or maybe some small improvements are needed. I included here 2 examples of methods and tools we have used. One, for example, asset mapping, to reflect and rediscover your territories with the use, for example, of visual materials like maps. And another tool is future newspaper, where you imagine, for example, that we are living in the year 2030, and let's say Vojvodina became in the meantime the leading region of circular cultural tourism, and we are developing a newspaper describing the process. So this is kind of storytelling from the future, backcasting, when you can reflect on the steps that are need to be taken in order to achieve this goal. Next one, please, Sophia. And at the end, in July last year, our pilots arrived at the end of the co-creation process with 6 action plans, creating a lot of sub-actions and actions. Actions here are understood as broader areas of change, and sub-actions are understood as particular tasks or steps, bringing the communities closer to the visions. And as you can see, each pilots was free to develop the action plans in the way they need and want. So the variety was quite high in terms of the numbers of ideas developed and included in the action plans. And also when it comes to the topics, basically we have action that encourage the communities and also entrepreneurs and small businesses to develop a sustainable and circular offer that allows the tourism visitors, but also the inhabitants, which are at heart of the heritage in the areas, to offer something more than holidays on the beach, to offer alternatives to big cities, to have actions allowing people to regain harmony with the environment, which, for example, is represented by actions enabling the experience of clear sky as an alternative to the light pollution in cities. Digital supported offer we have also in the action plans, and also we have some gender aspects, for example, aiming at strengthening entrepreneurship of women in rural areas and developing businesses run by women and with or for women as well. So the benefits for the local communities should be at core of the action plan as well. The next one, Sophia, please. And when it comes to the circular approach, the actions are addressing mobility. They are focusing on local opportunities. When we would talk about the cities, we could say 15-minute cities. It's not necessarily applies to rural areas. New concept, new ideas must be developed here to reflect the uniqueness and the difference of the rural areas to cities, which are often at the focus of policies. It also includes the resources management, which is very much in line with the sustainable tourism, also to the in relation to the mobility, but for example, also some basic issues like how to design the sustainable and circular stay of tourists in your small hotel in a remote area is also part of the reflection of the action plans. The reduction of resources, the adaptation to the changes, to the changing climate as well. For example, in some actions we have very hot summers, which will probably even become a bigger problem in the coming years. So this is already reflected in the Be.Cultour action plans for the future. We have references to the SDGs, to the just transition, also in terms of including minorities and empowering them not to co-create only, also to take the initiatives and do something on their own with our support and also without our support, just with the idea and just once the need and the opportunity is triggered by this project. And the human-centered approach here is a tool for this change, for the diversity and the inclusion, but also not only with the humans in the built environment, but also in the natural environment, which is reflected in many actions, not only the ones about this clear sky, but also in actions which are developing tourist offer to enjoy nature, plants, and also the animals in different areas. We learned a lot about the birds in Serbia, for example, about different species in all other areas as well. So the diversity of the pilot heritage sites is really reflected in various and a surprising way. And if you want to learn more, please take a look at the very big deliverable D3.5, which is uploaded on our homepage. You will find there the description of the entire process. All toolbox we have delivered to the pilot heritage sites on the co-creation process, and also all 6 action plans. So feel free to read it and to learn also from the actions that were already developed and ideated and are now implemented in our pilot heritage sites. Thanks a lot, Sophia, and yes, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gosha, for summarizing that action plan creation process in a very succinct and passionate way. Perhaps I think Francesca will touch on this again after the break, but for now, let's take 3 minutes just to get up, stretch, get a fresh air from the window, and we'll be back in 3 minutes. Thanks all. All right. That was a short and sweet break. Let's start to arrive back here. I hope we're all ready for Francesca when Francesca is back from her break. All right, Francesca, whenever you are ready, we're all yours.
Hi, hello. Thank you, Sophia. Welcome back, everyone. Can you see my presentation, Sophia? Can you nod if you...
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So welcome back, everyone. I'm Francesca Pozzebon from the ARI Network, which is responsible for managing the community of interest of mirror regions. In the previous presentation, you've actually listened more about the process of the pilot heritage site in creating, developing the local action plans. And my presentation will instead focus on the replication of these methodologies in the mirror ecosystem. So I will be talking about the Ultimate Guide for Sustainable Explorers, which is an online toolkit that we have prepared and developed within the projects in order to facilitate the transferability of these methodologies of the creation of the local action plans. So the Ultimate Guide for Sustainable Explorers aims to be an accessible and easy to understand tool, accessible to everyone, not just the mirror ecosystem, but also the wider community of tourist sector operators, stakeholders, and local authorities that wish to co-design and implement circular cultural tourism plans and strategies. As Gosha was saying, the 6 pilot heritage sites tested this methodology, and together with their local stakeholders, they prepared and arrived to the implementation of some local action plans, which were place-based and human-centered in order to implement some circular cultural tourism strategies, which are based on actual challenges. The mirror ecosystems are 16, and as you can see, they're very different in terms of geographical provenance, but also the stakeholders that they are represented by. And the online toolkit actually aims to be accessible to everyone and easy to use by each type of mirror ecosystem and stakeholders all over Europe. The process that the online toolkit, if you decide to use it, will guide you through is actually made of 3 main steps, which are the local workshop that Gosha already introduced. And each workshop lasts more or less 2 days in a time frame of 10 months. And in the case of the pilot heritage site, it produced 6 action plans for circular cultural tourism. The actual plans are really the key results of the Be.Cultour projects, and they follow especially the innovation areas of the Be.Cultour projects, and in order to be efficient and successful, they are really taking into consideration the local ecosystem and diversity of all the actors that are involved in a circular cultural tourism strategy in a different area. They apply the concept of circular economy, but they also take into consideration different elements of cultural tourism, such as the Europeanization dimension and the timeline for implementation of these circular cultural strategies. So why the toolkit? What is the aim of the toolkit? As I was saying, the aim of the toolkit is to transfer and replicate the methodologies of the projects, not just within the time frame of the project, but also as a long-lasting impact of the Be.Cultour project. Initially, we are testing and replicating these methodologies in the 16 mirror ecosystems through a series of online community conversations, some in-person workshops and study visits. But the ultimate aim would be to really share the materials, the template, the worksheets that we have created with the wider community of cultural operators all over Europe. Now, to give you a practical example of what the toolkit is, I would invite you to scan this QR code and go to one of the actual toolkit pages available on the Be.Cultour website. I will now change my screen so I can go through it with you. Okay. Can you see my screen now to the website? Okay, so this is one of the toolkit phases, is within the first workshop, phase 4, if I'm not mistaken, the website visit, which basically consists in a role-playing game in which participants stepped into the shoes of the possible visitor to assess the visitor experience in a local cultural heritage site. You can see you have the phase of the process, so the problem exploration. You have the number of the workshop in which you are supposed to be, and the session duration, so the amount of time that it should take you to do this process, in this case is 2 hours. You have a set of guidelines that will guide you through the actual implementation of this exercise and the different steps that you will need to go through. At the very end, you have the sources that you can use. So the user map journey, the personas, and the actual worksheets and documents that you can download from the website. Just to give you another example, this is a phase from the second workshop, the interactive community idea building. So this is more focused on the interaction between the different stakeholders and the trade-offs of addressing this tourist strategy involving the entire quadruple helix of stakeholders. As I was saying, you have the session duration, the different phase in which you're in, a set of guidelines. And in this case, since this is more resembled to a game than an actual process, you also have the game introduction and the different personas and role play that you will need to impersonate. Again, you have the different steps of the workshop. And in case you will not be able to implement this phase in person as an in-person event, you also have some guidelines for the online application of the workshop. So God forbid that there's another COVID lockdown, you can also have it online through Zoom, using Miro or different online tools. And again, the worksheets to be used. I'm gonna now pass to my original presentation. Okay, here we are. So this was the second toolkit that I showed. And to conclude, within the project, we are also trying to monitor the implementation and the replication of these methodologies. And in order to enhance the replication of the methodologies and also to keep track of all the opportunities and events that are happening within the project, but also outside the project in the circular cultural tourism sectors, we have set up these LinkedIn working groups in which mirror ecosystem, pilot ecosystem, but also the outside community of advisors and other participants who other EU-funded projects can share best practices, opportunities, other events. And as you can see, these 4 working groups are focusing on different areas of the projects, including digitalization, the human dimension of cultural tourism, circular economy, and innovative business. And if you scan the QR codes, I warmly invite you to join the working group so we can start to work together and build on what we are creating within the project, but also outside. And if you have any questions regarding the methodologies or the LinkedIn working groups, please feel free to contact me at the email address that you can see here. And with this, I would pass it on to Sophia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesca. It's great to see how we have so much material out there for use in communities like ours in the Be.Cultour project, and it's all very accessibly packaged. So that is fantastic. And I recommend as well that people join these LinkedIn groups. This is where we can get conversations flowing, have things more interactive, share resources, and so on. So I have already joined myself. Good. So without further ado, I will move into the next portion of this webinar, which is where we have 2 people joining us, 2 women joining us from a Be.Cultour mirror region and a Be.Cultour pilot heritage site. And we have 2 questions for each of them. And so I will pose the first question, and then perhaps I will get Chiara to answer the first one in 5 minutes. And the question is whether you can share your experience of stakeholders' cooperation and co-creation of innovation strategies for sustainable and cultural tourism. What does this look like in Svilupumbria? And perhaps getting into the details of which kind of people were involved, which stakeholders were involved, and what came out of it. So for 5 minutes, we're here, all ears for you, Chiara.
Thank you very much. Thanks. First of all, I'd like to say that in our region, in my region, Umbria, Umbria is located right in the center, is landlocked right in the center of Italy. There is a very long-standing traditional participatory approach to government issues and policy programming and monitoring. This participatory approach was started in the early 2000, and it was very much government-centered and managed, right? So a lot of roundtables, you know, people sitting together, discussing things. With time, this created, in general, a culture of participation to decisions and programming at all levels, but it's also at the same time a sort of fatigue. We were very lucky when we started working on the San Francis Way, because the San Francis Way was not managed by any government or any institution. What happened with the stakeholders is that we actually followed their leads. The San Francis Way is not a project that was started from us, from Svilupumbria or from the regional government of Umbria or from any institution. It was actually a bottom-up project. What happened is that a lot of people started walking along the San Francis Way, and the communities and the small hamlets and the people living along the way started to help these people who were walking. Simply by offering something to eat or a glass of water or some support, information, then they realized that the way was actually a source of profit for them, and they started maintaining it. So, you know, clearing it of debris and fallen leaves, maintaining it clear, safe, and in some ways providing also for those services, paid services such as hospitality. So when the region and us as Svilupumbria decided to work on the San Francisco Way, realized that this was something that was attractive to tourists and also was involving communities, the project was already there. The stakeholders were already there. All the local communities, all the local institutions, associations, the religious association who provided, you know, the passport for the pilgrim and the stamp on the passport. They were already there. They were disorganized. They were working in a spontaneous way, but they were there. What we actually did was actually create a sort of like a connection between all these different communities. And of course, we were able to put in some resources in order to do things that could not be done in the small hamlets, such as promotion, such as a coherent signs all along the way, and promotional materials, communication, and of course, some sort of investment in small infrastructures, including the maintenance of the way. Therefore, in our experience in terms of our project was of this enormous help from actually stimulus coming from the communities rather than the other way around, and it never stopped. The communities and the people along the way are still involved. They don't resent the interference from the region. At the same time, they still work on that. They didn't get lazy because we started working on the project. And this same approach actually spread to other hiking itineraries in Umbria, where we hope to build an entire network of sustainable tourism itineraries, not only walking, but also hiking, cycling, and also horse riding, in order for our region to really become the green heart of Italy in a way that is not just the color of the environment. We are very green, very hilly, but also a way to actually make your tourism experience more sustainable. We still work with all the stakeholders. We still meet regularly. We met during the lockdown, of course, in a virtual way. This also helped in order to involve even more of the stakeholders who were not sometimes able to travel anyway. Our experience is that when you have a bottom-up approach, the participatory method and the stakeholders' involvement is more successful.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I will have a follow-up question for you in just a minute, but I would like to hear now from Ulrika about your experience in Västra And yeah, happy to have you talk about it, Ulrika. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I agree with the previous. My name is Ulrika Lind, and I have quite recently taken over as the project manager after Björn Åhlén, who was in the beginning, and he moved on to other tasks in the region now. But here in the region of Västra Götaland, in the west of Sweden, we choose 2 industrial heritage sites for this project, Be.Cultour. And they are very large and complex environments. And one is a former textile industry, and the other one is an iron mill industry with associated communities that grew up next to the mills. In order to achieve success, we think it has been important to anchor the project locally in each location. Therefore, we have engaged local project manager in each municipality. And these project managers have in turn invited stakeholders to meetings to start building an action plan. The invitees are all associations that exist on the site. That is, for example, the Dog Club, the Village Association, the Home Village Association, the Artists Association, and the Cultural Association. Basically, everyone invited from different associations came to the first meeting. Of course, all companies operating in the area were also invited. It was a little more difficult to get them to come, maybe because they are busy with their own business and so on. We also invited municipal officials and cross-sector as possible. There were officials from the town planning unit, from the culture and leisure department, from the tourism company, and from the business department. It was easiest to get officials from business and culture to attend, and much more difficult with officials from urban planning. Even some private individuals were invited to the meetings, and approximately 40 people participated in the first meeting, and of those, approximately 2/3 of them returned to the second and the third meeting. I think success factors in this phase are that we adapted a bottom-up perspective. When we invited to the meetings, we said that we want to meet to come up with a strategy to strengthen and develop their place, their site. We did not say that we wanted to offer them to be part of an EU project. Instead, we said that we wanted to help them together with them. We want to develop the living environment and the business environment where they operate. And I think that is why they came, because they are interested in the society they live and work in. And another factor could be that we put the meetings at different times during the day. They were about 4 to 5 hours long, and some were during the day, and some in the afternoon, and some in the evening. So we try to make it as easy for them to access and participate as possible. And yeah, I think the bottom-up perspective is very important here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So some themes we're hearing is that this place-based approach is incredibly important, recognizing the needs of the community rather than saying, hey, we're an EU project here to save you, but rather what assets do you have, what's important to you, is coming through quite clearly from both of you. I do like this conversation around success factors for engagement of stakeholders. And I was wondering if, Chiara, if you would like to touch on that again with some of these really key things that you have done that have worked out quite well.
Yes, well, as I was saying, building on something that is already there, a community that is already working on a project is what was in our experience one of the success factors. And this cannot be the case all the time, of course. Sometimes you have to intervene on a territory with your own ideas. But even in that case, when we started to spread the idea of hiking itineraries in Umbria as a way to revitalize some of the remote areas and attract tourism in a sustainable way, and I agree with Ulrika on this, we went there on the same level. We didn't go as the regional government agency coming with an idea, you have to accept this idea, and that's the idea. We went with an experience that was already carried out nearby, and asked for their proposals and how to make it their own experience in the territory if they were interested. We were lucky because the San Francisco Way runs from the north to the south of the region and then onwards to Rome. So it's quite it's about 270 kilometers. It touches a lot of places along the territory, along its itinerary. And we were lucky because it was already quite famous. It became quite famous fairly soon. We were happy to enjoy a wave towards hiking and hiking holidays. And therefore, it wasn't that difficult. But again, I think that once you have a very strong community of public and also private bodies, enterprises are important, SMEs, local SMEs had to participate, they had to see the benefits, and they had to intervene on how to make it better for them to participate. Once you have a strong community, and once there is a strong interest coming from the community, even if you come with the idea and you put yourself at the same level as the community, so that no one leads the way, but it's actually a real participatory approach, everybody working for the same objective in the same way, then that is probably the key to success. Not coming in with an idea that is just from the top and you accept it or whatever, or you won't get the money, that's the other thing. But attach the proposal to the proposal coming from the bottom, in any way stimulating the bottom-up approach, even if that means that you have to change your original idea.
Thank you very much. Ulrika, would you like to respond briefly?
Well, I think you're very right. I think it's you have to anchor the ideas and the work in the society itself. I think it's not so easy. It's not the way of success to come from the region like I do and try to tell the society what they should do. So I think it's. Yeah, I think it's important that the people locally collaborate, and you have to try to help them to create these networks. Now in Rydal, for example, we are trying just to establish these networks and try to make a structure so that they will survive after the project is over. So we have the local project leader, Christina. She's inviting to different kind of networks, and I think the main question is how they will start to work together and if they will continue. And I think that if they should continue after the project, it's if they can. If they can gain something from it, so to say. So it must be in their interest. They must learn from it and make it must be of good for them to interact with each other. So yeah, thank you.
Of course, yes. And I have one more question for you, but before that, I would like to invite other participants to write their questions in the question and answer box. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. I just, someone messaged me privately about that, and I responded to everyone trying to indicate where the question and answer box was. So check on that lower bar. Otherwise, you can just write your question in the chat and we'll get to your questions in just one moment. So, good. I had a question maybe for Ulrika. You were mentioning that it was very difficult to involve certain stakeholders in your workshops. And yeah, maybe if you could just expand on that a little bit, why this was the case, and yeah, remind us of which stakeholders those were specifically.
Well, as I tried to say, it was quite easy to get all these kind of civil society, the associations to come, but it was much harder to make the small enterprises to come. And I can't really tell you why, but like it was restaurants, it was guiding enterprises. So maybe they have so much to do themselves. It's often very small companies, just 1 or 2 or 3 persons. This is very small places, communities. It's just a couple of 100 people living here in these 2 areas. So, and maybe they also, unfortunately, they might be a bit tired of projects that we from top off comes and offer them. And well, so I don't really know why they are not that interested in participating, but that was a fact. It was much harder for us to make them participate.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think it's important to talk about difficulties and challenges alongside successes. So, but it's always good to keep a balanced to I would now like to open up the floor and perhaps hear a response from Antonia or one of our other speakers to what they've heard from Ulrika and Chiara. The floor is open at this point, so.
Yes, thank you very much, Sophia. And of course, we open up to anyone who wants to intervene or ask a question to our speakers. So I would just remind a conversation that we had in Brussels when we met all together with the partners and the mirrors regarding the key factors of success in this engagement process. And one of that is surely the leadership coming from bottom-up processes and having some people really motivated and willing to change their territory, their city, their country. So in this sense, the actions that come spontaneously, let's say from the community, as also Chiara was telling about, are really important. And it was really a nice experience with Spilop Umbria, what we learned today, that some support was also given to those communities that were demonstrating a proactive behavior, which is very important also for entrepreneurial capacity. Of course, if we are then waiting that something happens, then it will never change very quickly. So this reactivation of the proactive behavior of communities, of people, of stakeholders, enterprises, whoever, is for me really important and it can be really a key factor of success in many different experiences that we are learning from this project. So just to highlight this point, and I see some hands raised.
Yes, thank you, Antonia. Laura, please.
I want to make a question to Chiara. Because I don't know if they have thought about making at European level this route of San Francesco. Because, for example, in my city, there were the saints of the city are from San Francesco order. So they were like the followers. I mean, it could be like an Europeanization of this San Francesco route. I don't know if they have thought about this.
Thank you very much. Well, yeah, we have thought about it, but we never proceeded with that so far. It's we probably because we're overworked, not for any other reason. Yes, but we have thought about creating a wider network of itineraries that in any way are inspired or they follow the footsteps of the heritage left by St. Francis. And we are obviously open to any proposal that may come to us. St. Francis has actually, he was really probably one of the first tourists that really we can account for, because he traveled everywhere. He went to Jerusalem, went to Rome. He was a traveler and all over Italy. So I'm sure that most of its footsteps can be retraced even outside of our own region and outside of course, the itinerary towards Rome. It does take some time, but we are definitely open to make St. Francis known even outside the border of Umbria and of Italy in general. We do attract a lot of people from abroad, but I'm sure that I am confident that if we make it part of a European network of itineraries, it will be even better, and it would probably also enhance the participatory approach, thanks to the input coming from other communities from other regions in Europe. So yes, we're open to any suggestions.
Are there any questions from the audience or from the speakers for each other? You can either raise your hand or just unmute and talk. Antonio?
I'm not sure if Professor Fusco-Girardo wanted to add something, or any other of the speakers.
Yes, I would like to better understand the very interesting proposal of San Francis route. Why? Because don't forget that San Francis defined the Earth our sister. Don't forget that he stressed the role of nature as a mother of all of us. So it could be a very interesting a pilot example in this integrated perspective that I proposed, linking the soil as our living treasure and the built cultural heritage. I think this is a very interesting perspective, and I would like to better analyze and cooperate perhaps with this initiative. I think there could be a pilot example for other case studies. I am very interested in this direction. Thank you. This means my availability and my curiosity to participate. This means this. Thank you. Thank you very much. Chiara Dallaglio, did you understand?
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much. We're always very happy when our project, it's our experience actually attracts so much enthusiasm coming from people that are not Umbrian or anyway working with us. And you're absolutely right. We were lucky to have an unwittingly testimonial of the sustainability of the hiking way that we call the San Francis Way in St. Francis himself, since he was the first, we call him an eco-warrior, because he actually fought for nature. The Cantico delle Creature is actually a celebration of everything that is the environment, both animals and the green environment. And it's also fitting that we are in Umbria, you know, the green heart of Italy. So yes,
exactly.
In many ways, one of the success of the hiking ways is this coherence of the figure of the inspiration, the saint, St. Francis, with what we're trying to do to make the region really more sustainable for our tourists in order for them to be able to travel even without car, because they can do that. The St. Francis Way is from north to south, and then you stopping along the way, you can always travel around the surrounding by bike, for example, without using a car, without taking a private mean of transport. So we were very lucky. We were very lucky because not all inspiration is the same, and St. Francis is indeed an unusual figure in our our Catholic tradition. But we are open, Professor, for any input coming from you, and we will be more than happy to keep on, keeping in touch on this and exchange more views about the St. Francis Way.
Yes, because in this experience, it could be also justified the new centrality of the ecology in relation to the economy. Don't forget that in our country, and now I'm speaking about Italy, we have introduced in the constitutional law the role of the sustainability values. This is a revolution last year. No, we have a change in Article 9 and Article 41 in our constitution. This means that in our constitution is recognized the importance of the nature as the most important infrastructure, which means this, that we have to learn from nature. We have to learn from the many of symbiosis that we can recognize in nature. And symbiosis means cooperation, means reciprocity, means mutuality. And this is the fundamental value we need today for facing the new challenges. This is, in my opinion, the message of this possible message of this proposal pilot project, to see in the nature our vision, our perspective, in which it is not only competition, but first of all cooperation, the engine of dynamic change and of development. This is important because today, to face the climate change, we had to invent all the initiative to build a resistance to the direction in which we are going, not a good direction which we are going. This is the interesting thing that I recognize in all the case study, but in particular in this one, because we have many elements, entry points to valorize. Ecco.
Thank you, and I also thank Francesca for sharing some of the pictures about the St. Francis Way earlier. And we see, in one of them, we see a tourist walking along the way, and there's nothing more in my way. It's actually the way we imagine our region, where the tourist actually is a participant to the circular approach. As the moment that they don't use the car, they walk, they are participant to the circular approach to our cultural heritage, because St. Francis is very much part of our cultural heritage. And yes, I think this and there are a lot of other very interesting experiences in Be.Culture, and I'm actually humble enough to be here to learn from others, because everything can always be improved, even the best practices, everything can be improved.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I think this webinar series is a great way to share knowledge between the members of our community. So this is a great way to kick it off. And seeing that we have just a few minutes left, I would like to close with a round of conclusions from our speakers. So if each speaker would like to share their final reflections after hearing the others, let's do this, starting with Antonia and then moving on.
For me, I already said some reflections, I would just highlight that this community of Be.Cultour is really becoming stronger and more collaborative at every day. So I see really a lot of interest also by many experiences that are not formally involved in the project, but this community is really enlarging and is giving us a lot of new ideas, a lot of really great experiences that we can share with the public, with the enlarged community, with destination managers, enterprises that want to change the way in which tourism is done today and want to use this as a tool for the regeneration of heritage, nature, and the territories. So I'm really happy about this first discussion that we had today, and I invite you to follow, if you want, also the following discussions in which we will see more and more experiences and we can learn more and more. So I'm happy to have this opportunity with you of sharing ideas.
Thank you, Antonia. I would then ask Małgorzata and Francesca just to share your final thoughts.
Thanks a lot. So my main observation and lessons learned from this project is this magical word of beyond, which when we consider action plans leads me, for example, directly in the visions mentioned by Professor, to the life center approach, to the cooperation, to the symbiosis, to the ecosystems which are creating surroundings for the cultural heritage. And now we are indeed realizing that the loss of biodiversity is very much linked to the loss and risk for the cultural heritage in tangible and tangible way. So I see the beyond as the leading idea of this project for communities, for the replicators, for the enlarged learning community, and all participants of the webinars to think about new strategies, new plans together with nature and the unique opportunities we still may have for some short time to rediscover our environment with natural and cultural heritage. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. And Francesca.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sofia, and thank you, Chiara and Ulrika, for sharing also your points and experiences. As a final say on our side, I would just say that it's really important also to valorize all the work that different regions are doing to keep this conversation going, keep sharing not just the good practices, but also the challenges that we face all over Europe, and keep the opportunities alive, keep really sharing the events, the news that we have with the community, the wider community, in order to foster again some positive change towards a better and more sustainable cultural tourism. And on this note, once again, I would invite you to follow the working groups of the projects and each social media channels that we have, because we are really doing this, boosting this cooperation all over the regions, European regions. Thank you.
All right, so that just about wraps it up. Thank you again to everybody who joined today, and we hope that you do stay in touch and that we can hear from you again. And a big thank you to our speakers. It was incredibly interesting for me to listen and learn, and I took a lot away. So in the chat, I've posted some ways that you can keep in touch with us, including our different social medias and so on. And we look forward to meeting you again in the future. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you
Thanks
very
a
much.
lot. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
See you next time.
Bye.